Where do I go? What do I do? Ugh, this is so frustrating. I should just look at a guide. No, I can't. I'm not a failure. I'm a real gamer. I can do this. That was the last time he ever played the game. Game strategy guides have been around for as long as, well, games have. Throughout most of their existence, they were an acceptable form of information, like checking a map when you get lost on a long drive. Recently, though, the tides have changed. Strategy guides have been demonized, with some people going as far as to say they ruin the gaming experience, and that they are a crutch for incompetent players only serving to hold them up through their journey, just to be left in the mud as they cross the finish line. But is there actually anything wrong with getting help when you're stuck in a game? Does it ruin the experience? Is it cheating? Are you a better gamer for not using them? Let's say you're in the camp that never uses guides. That's great. You may have gotten lost in the weeds a few times, but in the end, you hacked your way through and made it to the end. That boss you were stuck on finally fell to its knees under the weight of your heavy blade. But was avoiding help and pushing through when the going got tough actually the best for your gaming experience? I'm guilty of this when it comes to Souls games. I'll bash my head against a boss over and over, slowly learning their moves, experimenting with new items, weapons, and armor sets, and coming back to it for days, alternating between gaining and losing progress like territories in a game of Risk. And eventually, I win, most of the time. With Elden Ring in particular, I reached my wit's end on a certain boss and put the game down for over a year. I had to! My thumbs were literally going raw, and I was sweating through my shirts going after this butthead over and over. His name was Elimer the Briar, or Elmo of the Brian, if you will. After all that heartache and time, when I finally did stand triumphantly over his corpse, it was more frustrating than satisfying. I thought hard about why this was, and I think it comes down to eventually feeling incapable. If I had just checked a guide for the smallest bit of help, I would have felt dirty for a moment, sure, but it might have been enough to get me past that guy in his poison castle and help me move forward in the game without having a huge gap messing up my experience. In this case, my stubbornness soured the enjoyment of the game. I should have just gotten help where I needed it. But that begs the question, is using a guide cheating? The quick answer is, well, kind of. If a test gives you a problem and you look up the solution, that's cheating by testing standards. But are games supposed to be tests? No. They're supposed to be an escape from normal life where you go on a grand adventure, or at least waste some time power washing. But I do think there is a limit. If you get into a loop of looking something up for every little obstacle you face, you risk going from picking up a quick tip to using an ad-riddled website as your personal checklist. This completely takes you out of the experience and tells your brain, hey, I'm not on a grand adventure anymore, I'm just doing a to-do list. This is still not cheating though. You're still pulling off the necessary tricks and have to have the skill to beat the game. Leaning too heavily on guides is really only cheating you out of the emotions the game can invoke inside of you had you not watered it down. Another big risk of using game guides is spoilers. You head over to one of these wiki sites to check something simple and accidentally catch a glimpse of an item you will get after a long dungeon crawl or the conclusion to a long romance arc you have been pouring effort into for hours. Whatever it may be, it feels bad. Depending on the game and the amount of coverage it has received, it can be hard to pinpoint the exact piece of information you're looking for, causing you to sift through pages and pages of potentially spoiler-ridden content. One solution I found for this problem is if you have an audience while gaming, have someone else look up the solution for you. Usually they are happy to do so because it makes them feel more involved in the process of just watching you game. If you're alone, you just have to be careful. I'm not sure how useful it is, but I like to use the I'm looking but not looking strategy with guides where I skim quickly until I pull out just enough information for me to process and then close the website. So when is it okay to use guides and when should you avoid them? I think it all comes down to the purpose of your playthrough. If you're playing to experience the story, immerse yourself in the world, and challenge yourself, guides should be used sparingly, just enough to get you past the biggest obstacles without taking away from the overall challenge. Here are some situations I feel using a guide is appropriate. You're stuck and have tried everything. If you're banging your head against a wall and can't figure out what to do next or where to go, a quick glance at a guide can point you in the right direction without spoiling everything. You're missing out on important content. If you're playing a big game like The Witcher 3, for example, and you hear from a friend about an amazing side quest they went on that you just haven't come across, a guide can make sure you don't miss any amazing moments. You're feeling overwhelmed. If a game's difficulty is starting to feel like more of a chore than fun, guides can offer a break. They're not cheating, they're tools to help you regain the enjoyment you lost while being stuck. On the flip side, there are situations you should definitely avoid using guides. You're just starting out and need to experience the game. The first bit of a playthrough should be about discovering the world, the mechanics, and the story without outside influence. Let the game surprise you. You want to challenge yourself. If the thrill of overcoming a tough boss or solving a puzzle is what you're after, try to push through first before resorting to a guide. The moment of success will feel far more satisfying. It's more about the journey than the destination. If you're playing for the experience of the story, try to keep as much of the game intact as possible. The twists, the turns, and the moments of self-discovery are what makes games great. In the end, the most important thing is that you're enjoying your gaming experience. It's okay to seek help when you're truly stuck or when you want to avoid missing out on content. Games are meant to be enjoyable, not frustrating, and sometimes a little assistance can be exactly what you need to keep your momentum going. Oh, and they're definitely not cheating. Just try to find the balance that works for you. Playing games is about having fun, and as long as you're doing that, it doesn't really matter what tools you use. So what do you think? Is it okay to use guides, or do you think it's a slippery slope? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy this content, please leave a like and subscribe to GooseQuest. See you next time.